So our students are back after experiencing all the massive change that occurred in our country over this last year and a half, and welcome back into a school with a new approach.
Yes.
How have families been experiencing the Noble Community Pact, and how have our students been experiencing the Noble Community Pact as well?
Yeah, I think with any new change, there's lots of varying reactions. So we have people that are excited about it and definitely want it on one hand. And then we have people that are very opposed to it on the other, right? And it's so in terms of the varying responses, right, of the spectrum that we got, like complete and total buy-in to I am not bought in at all, or I'm just nervous about what this thing is and what this means. I'm not sure how to implement it. You know, I don't feel qualified to do this work, right? All of those are very valid experiences for our adults in our space. I believe our commitment to NCP, though, is because we do believe our students deserve the best. We do recognize as well that we are in a time that we have never been in before, right? And so when we see, you know, narratives about like violence or safety in our communities, it's important for us to also be equipped to distinguish trauma showing up in our spaces, right? Versus just general misbehavior. And then how do we approach both of those things? I think in both instances, behavior is communicating something to us, and we have to be intentional about how do we then respond in a way that gets to the root of what the issue is, right? And so we are continuing to push and do this work because we know it's what's right for our students. We know it's what they deserve. We know that it is the thing, it is, again, the long game, but it is the thing that will support behavioral growth for our scholars, ensure they have the skills that they need after they leave us, right? We are a college preparatory institution, and we want to make sure our students have what they need to navigate whatever post-secondary pathway they choose to partake in. What we do know is they need the skills to do that. We need to empower them and give them accountability to make better decisions, to think about how those decisions impact other people before they leave us. And that is what we're trying to do with the Noble Community Pact. So we absolutely have a large range of responses. And I absolutely believe that all of those experiences are valid. And we're going to continue to build our muscle around this and get better at it so that we become successful at this work, because we do know this is the hard work. And it won't change overnight. And a pandemic does not help us,
Absolutely.
Right? But we know that like we can do hard things together, and that's what we do at Noble, and we will continue to push forward.
It's very early in this journey.
Yes.
But in this early stage of the journey, have you experienced any wins or spots in which you want to highlight for people to kind of hear about where we are and being able to celebrate those wins as we continue out our journey?
Yeah, we're still early in implementation of many of our things. However, what I will highlight is some of the wins is just the anecdotes, right? And the feedback that we've gotten from adults in the space, right? So to be able to walk into a school and hear staff, you know, be able to feel a sigh of relief and say, I'm happy that this change has happened because I can really focus on my relationship with students now. Or be able to cite the ability and feeling freer to engage with parents more, to use them as, you know, to collaborate with them, to stand in solidarity with them and not just do things for them and dictate to them, right? To hear that feedback does my heart well, right? Like we may not be there at the finish line yet, but it is the highlights that let me know and let our team know that we're getting there, right? We're making those strides, right? To even hear, even our leaders name that like, I didn't understand it. Now that I have students back, I absolutely see the necessity for it. It's hard.
Absolutely.
And it's exhausting, right? Because this is the hard work, right? If we're honest about it. But to know that they can see the necessity and can align themselves with it because they realize like, yes, our students absolutely needed this thing, right?
Not only they needed, but also they deserved it, I would argue.
Yep.
And I appreciate you being honest about this process and identifying that it has not been easy.
Right.
It will not be easy.
Yes.
And we want to continue to press on. So with that, like, are there spaces that you've already identified, right, that we need to continue to like double down on or to work a little bit harder at to make this process be a little more, not as exhausting as it is right now?
Yeah. No, I think, of course, you have like systems and policies and streamlining things just to make, you know, the implementation easier for our people. And that's work that we're continuously doing every single day, every single week to make sure our people have what they need. I think the thing that for me is front of mind and doubling down on is really not only the necessity of it, but what our changes actually mean for our students and our families and our communities, right? And so what I see is the need for us right now is to continue to do the work that surfaces and centers the voices of our people, staff, students, and families, but also continue to push for like asset-based language and narratives about who we are. And that includes our students and our families as well, right? I always say the brilliance is the room. And I heard that from a mentor and it just stuck with me ever since. But it truly is the truth. And that brilliance also extends to our families and our scholars as well. And so being able to capitalize on that, being able to kind of shift our perspective from like deficit-based thinking to more asset-based thinking and what the brilliance our people bring to our spaces to solve these problems, some of which are just out of our hands, like a pandemic, right? Like we can't control that, but we can control some things. And so how do we do that to make sure we're equipped, we're successful, and we're thriving? We're moving from survival to thriving in this particular context we're in now. Some of the strategies that has worked well, I think one is just in relationship building.